There is something unsettling about the times we are living in. Not just because there is war, but because of how quickly our attention moves. One moment, the world is focused on one of the most disturbing scandals involving power, secrecy, and elite networks. And the next moment, almost suddenly, global attention shifts to war. This raises a question, not a conspiracy, not an accusation, but a question. How does power shape what we see and what we forget? Now, let us begin with what we know, what is concrete. The tension between the United States, Israel, and Iran did not begin yesterday. They are rooted in decades of geopolitical struggle, such as control of influence in the Middle East, strategic alliance and rivalries, nuclear concerns, economic and military dominance. These are real, documented, and historically grounded. Wars actually do not appear out of nowhere. They are built slowly through fear, through mistrust, and competing vision of power. So we must be clear here. This war has really causes, really stakes. It has really consequences. To deny that would be intellectually dishonest. In fact, to deny the effect, to deny the really causes and the real stakes of this war, it will be an intellectual dishonesty. Now, but we must move to something more subtle. Before the escalation of conflict, global discourse was increasingly centered around one name, and that is Epstein. Now, not just as an individual, but as a symbol of something deeper, such as the elite networks, the secrecy, power without accountability. This was the global discussion before the Israel American Iran war. Beg your pardon. Documents, investigations, and public discussions were raising uncomfortable questions. Questions about who knew what? Questions about who was involved. Questions that did not have easy answers. And then, almost abruptly, the global conversation changed. War became the headline. Crisis became the focus. And the previous questions faded into the background. Now, here is where we must be very careful. It is tempting to jump to conclusions, to say this war was created to distract. Sure, but that claim requires evidence we simply do not have. And if we are serious thinkers, we want to be taken seriously, we must resist the comfort of easy explanations. Instead, we ask a better question, such as, even if the war was not created as a distraction, can it function as one? This is the question that we can ask. The answer is not emotional, it is structural. Yes, it is structural. In the modern world, attention is one of the most powerful forces. Media systems, political institutions, and digital platforms all operate within what we might call an economy of attention. There is only so much focus the public can give at any one time, and war, by its nature, demands total attention. It is so urgent, it is so emotional, and so dangerous, as you can put it. When war begins, it does not politely share space with other issues. It consumes the narratives. And so, without any secret meeting, without any hidden plan, other issues, no matter how important, begins to disappear from public consciousness. Now, to understand why people connect Epstein to everything, we must go deeper. Epstein is no longer just a person. He represents the idea that powerful people can operate beyond accountability. Epstein represents the fear that system meant to protect truth may fail. I beg your pardon. It presents the fear that system meant to protect, truth may fear. The suspicion that what we see is only a surface. This is what Epstein would represent in this scenario. This is not about proving a theory. It is about understanding a psychological and a social reality. When people lose trust in institutions, they begin to look for hidden explanations. Not always because those explanations are true, but because they feel more coherent than the official silence. At this point, another layer enters. Information itself becomes a battlefield. Some actors, state and non-state, benefit from confusion. They amplify certain narratives, linking unrelated events, blurring fact and speculation, creating emotional reaction rather than critical thinking. So we must recognize not every connection being made in organic, some are strategic. This is what we must understand, that not every connection being made is organic, but rather some are really strategic. There are two dangers we must avoid in this scenario. The first is blind acceptance, believing everything presented by official narratives without questioning. The second thing that I would like us to really be careful of is total suspicion, believing that everything is secretly controlled and nothing is real. Both positions are intellectually weak. Truth usually exists in tension, not in extremes. Now, so where does this leave us? Where does this war leave us? The war of Israel, American, Iraq. With a more complex but honest conclusion. The war has really geopolitical causes. Epstein represents a real crisis of trust and accountability. The timing of attention shift raises legitimate question, but there is no solid evidence that one directly caused the other. However, the overlap reveals something deeper about our world. Power does not only act through decision, it also acts through attention. What we see, what we stop seeing, what we are encouraged to focus on. These shape our reality as much as events themselves. Perhaps the most important issue is not war, and not even Epstein, but trust. We are living in a time where institutions are questioned, information is contested, truth feels unstable. And in such a world, people begin to connect dots, sometimes correctly, sometimes not. Not because they are irrational, but because they are searching for coherence in a fragmented reality. So the real question is not, was this war created to hide something? The real question is, why do so many people feel that something is always being hidden? That question points to a deeper crisis, one that cannot be solved by dismissing people or by feeding them easy answers. It requires transparency, it requires accountability, and the courage to face uncomfortable truths. If this analysis challenged you, if it made you think differently, then this channel is for you. Because here we do not chase noise, we pursue clarity. Subscribe for more deeper, objective, and thought-provoking content. Share this with someone who is willing to think beyond headlines. And most importantly, leave your thought in the comments. Not just what you believe, but why you believe it. Because in the world full of information, thinking is becoming a rare skill. And together, we can bring it back. Until next time, see you again.